Hey y'all, welcome to the Poetic JustUS podcast. This is your host Jen, and I have the lovely, wonderful Miss Simone LaRay. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I am so good. Look, don't come in here being all shy now. I told you. I told you. All right, so I'm just gonna jump right in. First of all, how are you feeling? How's things going? How's life?
Um, Life is good. Things
Yeah.
are progressing slowly.
Slowly, yeah. How is it going? One thing I wanted to really focus on talking with you because when I see you as this entrepreneur, business mind, go getter, and also very artistic but structured, right? You like things a certain way. And so I admired that about you. And so tell me a little bit how it's been in forming a business around poetry. Because that's often what you don't really get to hear. We think about this creativeness where we can just kind of be who we are and be expressive. But the thing that you kind of bring to the table is the entrepreneurship behind it. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, I don't really know anything about business. So I learned everything trial and error. And there was a lot of error and trial.
Yeah.
But then there was a lot of success and support and love that came with the passion behind it. So, um, for me, what was most successful was just being honest about what I was trying to do and find genuine people that had the same passion about where I was going. And we created a family. So,
So that's I'm glad you said it because I feel like when you're forming a business or forming a vision, right? It's so important for those around you to really understand your vision, respect your vision, and because really it's your vision, right? So they're not going to have the same thing that you have, but for them to be able to gravitate towards it because they understand you is important. So how was that process in as you formed the poetry lounge and putting those different parts together to make it so that it's something that kind of extends bigger than you? How was it with forming your team and getting those people you trust? Because you got a dope team, including, you know, one of the greatest hosts. You know, I ain't gonna shoot no horn, but no, I'm joking. But no, seriously, like how important is that to you, and how does that kind of play a role in the business sense of poetry?
to be honest, forming my team was very natural. Um, it really didn't take a lot of effort. It was in a conversation with immediate connection and similar interests, passions, similar backstories. So forming the team was very natural. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't really difficult, and just people were willing to step on board. And luckily for me, I've had some pretty committed people from the very, very beginning. When I started off with just myself, and then I only had 7 people attending. So it really just came natural because people saw my love and passion. I'm willing to give more than I take, and people were willing to be on my team and be a part of that. So,
And for those who are not quite aware, we're talking about the Poetry Lounge. The Poetry Lounge is a beautiful, beautiful community of poets that Simone put together this platform that's amazing, that allows a lot of local poets to come out and really just share their work and bear it all out on the stage. And each week you have like a different theme. How did you let me ask you that, how did you come up with the idea, oh, we're gonna have a theme and it's gonna, because I like that. I like the fact that it's something new. You don't really know what to expect each time. So what made you like put it as though there's sort of course, people come out and this, they do their thing, but
right.
it's sort of this building this sort of atmosphere as far as it having different themes. What prompted you to do it like that?
Um, I don't know.
I don't know.
It was just kind of a whim. Like I have so many different genres of poetry. I felt like I couldn't share it all in one, and it was more like structure for myself of directing, okay, this is what you want to read, this is what you want to write for this event. And so by centering my events around themes, it allowed me to write and structure what I wanted to share versus going through all my 14 poetry books and things like that, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to read? And I think people like the themes. It's creative. It gives people prompts to write to. Like if they look at your theme, it may inspire them to write something. So I just like the idea of prompts and themes. It was just another level of.
That made me think about like the teacher part, because you are a teacher.
Yeah.
How long you been teaching?
8 years.
8 years. Woo! I want to see how you do it, girl. I just don't know.
Lots of prayer.
8 years, yes. And what grade did you teach?
8th grade.
8th grade. Woo!
By the way, I love all my students.
Let's say a little prayer. Lord, no, I'm joking. But no, that's great. So how much of, and you teach with Wake, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. So how much of because I think about when I host the shows, you know, you have everything laid out, this beautiful Google slide, what we're going to do here, what we're going to do there. And so how much of the organization aspect do you feel is connected to your teacher sense when it comes down to how you orchestrate your shows, how you put together your business, how you really, you know, structure your poems? You know, because I feel like a lot of it, you're an English teacher, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm pretty sure in your mind at some point there's this sort of, you know, blurring of the lines between how you look at what you teach versus what you write. Is there a moment in when you find yourself, well, I guess that's a different question. Like, is there a moment when you find yourself overthinking the poems because of your teacher sense? Or how does the teacher mindset play a role that's beneficial to you with putting together your shows as well as your poetry? So there's kind of two questions. You can start with either one.
Okay. So with your students, the more detail you give them, the better results you get. And so I've learned over the years to put in those small details, even if it's down to remember to put a period at the end of your sentence for 8th graders. So I tend to give a lot of extra detail. And so when you're looking at those Google slides, those announcements, all that extra detail in there is really for myself and to guide you, to give you all the information you need, but then make
lesson plan.
Right. And then to make it your own. As far as the creative part, writing poetry, my poems are very unorganized. I often write randomly, like driving in my car, I'll pull out my phone, like, shouldn't text and drive, but I write and drive.
Right.
Comes a lot to me in the shower, so I'm like running out the shower, getting my notebook. So it's really unstructured and unorganized, and it flows by what's on my mind and what I'm feeling in that moment. And so that's the part where there is no structure. I just kind of go in whatever direction the poem is going.
So do you do you feel like then that's sort of your moment of being able to step out of that role and
it's my
kind
freedom.
of
It's my moment of freedom, of not thinking, not caring about judgment, just being 100% in my zone.
So how do you balance the business sense? Because I keep saying business because you run it like a bit like, look, listen, like, I know that there's so many, and I'm, as an entrepreneur myself, I know that there's so many moving parts when you're trying to put together something and orchestrate something, even if it is for entertainment or, you know. So, and when I see you I really wanted to highlight you as a businesswoman, because I really feel like it's very important that other young women see, you know, that and be able to see that even if you have this creative spirit with you, this is how you monetize it and make it lucrative for yourself, and being able to share what you were just gifted with, but turn it into something that not only benefits you, but also extends to others. So that's really why I keep saying, you know, putting it structuring it that way, because I really feel like that that is a show of, being able to kind of step out of the box and think about how I can really make this something that is, beneficial, for me and for those to come. So, when you are trying to find balance, because I know being a mom, being an educator, being a a woman, I know that listen, I struggle with just sitting down to write, so let alone putting together an entire show that incorporates so many different people. And how do you find the balance? Like, how are you able to categorize these things so that you can juggle them?
I don't really think I figured out how to find a balance yet. I think it just all kind of intertwines together. Like it's all mixed up, and I'm still kind of like a one-woman show, so that's something I'm still learning. To ask for help, and you can't do everything on your own, and to find that balance. So that is where I'm at currently, finding the balance. I never looked at my poetry as a business. The Poetry Lounge wasn't even something that was thought of. It started as a conversation on a date with who is now my boyfriend. And he gave me the idea of creating it into a business. And from that conversation developed into what you are now calling business, but it was just a simple conversation. I really love poetry, sharing an idea of like what I wanted to do, and he helps me manifest it into a business.
Nice. And this goes back to what I was saying. It's good to have somebody in your corner that really gets it, and inspires you to manifest those things. Because if you like me, I'll have a lot of stuff up here, and then having the motivation or the tools to be able to actually get it going is the part where I sometimes start to trip over.
Right.
So another question. Okay, so when it comes down to like your poetry, right? Your poetry seems to be self-reflecting. It's a lot of self-reflection of where you are, where you've come as a woman. So share with me a little bit about the inspiration behind your poetry, and who do you feel like your poetry speaks to the most when it comes for outside of yourself?
As with a lot of poets, poetry started as therapy for me. And it started as me having a conversation with myself, like talking myself through situations. And when I first started writing poetry, it was all like love, like longing to be loved, desiring it, just trying to figure out love. That was majority. I started writing when I was in 7th grade. So 7th grade all the way up until my 20s, love. And then as I started trying to figure out how to be a woman, it developed into trying to figure out who I am as a woman, inspiration. As I got older and became a mother, it started reflecting back to trauma, like my childhood trauma. And I kind of wanted to get some of that out, because when I became a mother, a lot of the fears of my trauma reflected, my fears as a mother. So I started sharing that in my poetry. I have a book coming out very soon. It is my life story, healing through my pain, that's written in poetry. So that's also a part of that journey where I was just trying to heal.
Healing through my pain. I like that. And
that's not the title, but it is the theme. Okay. I'm not going to share the title.
I like that one though. I like that.
It is the theme, healing through my pain. But that's not the title just yet. So
okay. So we'll be hearing about this book release soon. Right. Yes. And then of course you're gonna come back on the show, so we can talk about it. Yeah.
The book was supposed to come out this year, but it is postponed till next year because I have other things to focus on.
What are those other things, Simone? What do you mean? What other things are we speaking of?
I am expecting a baby very soon.
Oh my God! Are you serious?
Very, very serious.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is amazing. Talk about motherhood, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And just, I don't, when it's so funny sometimes I be thinking like, gosh, well, people still procreating out here. Is it over yet? No, I'm joking. But no, that's awesome. So do you have like any due dates? Do you know your due date yet?
It's actually December, which is why I pushed. My book release was supposed to be July, my mother's birthday. But I actually pushed my book out till next year because I really just, when the book comes out, I really wanted the focus to be on the book. And I know my mind is on baby.
So when does your daughter, how is your daughter, how old is she?
She's 10.
10. I was going to say 11. Does she write? Or do anything? Is she into
likes
the
to
arts?
draw, but she does. She attempts to write.
Okay. And how does that work when? Oh, this is a question I got. How when you? Because this is something that I've always wondered. Like when you have conversations, or when you speak about your childhood trauma or your past, and there's people in your story or in your writing. How do you deal with those relationships where you've had that trauma in the past with them and you're writing about it and basically essentially talking about them? How's that dynamic for you in your, whether it be about your family, about your friends or whatever? Because I've always struggled with that, being very forthcoming, so much so that I could kind of be offending somebody and or putting their business out there too, right? So I'm just curious, how do you deal with that, being that a lot of your stuff is about your past and about some of the things that like I said, involved other people?
That was a struggle for me, especially writing my book, because there was a lot of things that I didn't want to share because I was still in protection mode, trying to protect certain people. But then once I got out of the mindset, what about yourself? And in order to really fully heal and just speak your truth and get everything out, you can't protect people.
Right.
And so I would write and filter, and then I would rewrite and just expose more and more. And honestly, a lot of the people that I've written things about, they've probably never heard. However, when the book comes out, I don't even know if they'll ever read it. But their reaction is not my concern. It's my story, my healing, that I want to inspire other women who've gone through the same thing. And just being in poetry, speaking to other women, so many Black women go through the same thing, and we're told to be quiet and shut up to protect a man. And that's what the book is about.
So do you sorry, let me think of what my question was. One thing that you had told me, and this is going back a little bit, you had was talking about your writing sort of process, and which things that's come to you, right, in the midst of just the day, the general day. What is the immediate go-to thing that tends to come, that you find yourself going back to? Like what is the theme? You know what I mean? Like for me, a lot of the times it seems like it's always about freedom. Because that's the core of me, being free. I can't be in nobody's box. So whenever something, regardless of what I'm doing and experiencing throughout the day, the thing that triggers me to want to write is always when I feel like my freedom is being hindered. Then the thoughts start coming. So is there any particular thing like similar to that for you that happens, whether it be just any conversation or is it just at random?
Mostly it's at random, but a lot of my poetry recently has been centered on like positivity and progression. That's like,
so you would say probably is more or less what phase of life that you're in, kind of thing?
I would say it's more so what I want from life. Okay. I'm more so writing poetry based on my goal of where I want to end, if that makes sense.
That does. That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. What about motherhood? Let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about motherhood. How do you define motherhood?
I don't think there's a definition for motherhood. We superheroes.
We do everything.
We do everything. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think me becoming a mother gave me the strength I needed to become a woman, because I don't think that I had it figured out.
Right. That's so true, because I've been a mom my whole adult life. So, and it really taught me what it meant to be a woman. I agree with that. That's pretty deep right there, because I never even really, I mean, I've thought about it, but I never really spoke about it that way. That's when I actually learned how to be a woman, is when I became, because they happen simultaneously.
I tell people that all the time. My daughter was my blessing. She was my wake up call to get it right. And after I gave birth to my daughter, I went back to school. I got my degree, got my own apartment, got a car. I had 2 jobs. Like, she was my hustle.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't have that before.
I hear you. So what role do you think poetry can play? Because I look at it as like us being educators and thinking about youth, being moms, thinking about the future, thinking about allowing children to be creative. And I can only imagine the creativity that you probably really nurture in your classroom. How do you feel poetry can really give people those opportunities to impact the youth? Because then I'm going to talk about some other things. But how, in general, how do you feel would be the scope of what we should do as adults to make sure that, or as writers, to make sure that we can extend this to our youth and encourage them to, do what we're doing and follow in our footsteps as writers and creatives and entrepreneurs?
I think it's really just giving kids an outlet. Like, in my classroom, I encourage my students to speak, naturally be themselves. And, sometimes, depending on what kind of teacher you are, some things may bother you. But a lot of the times, I allow my students their freedom to be themselves. And with that, a lot of them feel comfortable sharing, talking to me. And we build those relationships. And it's not necessarily like creative poetry, but it's still giving them the outlet.
It's communication.
Right. And these kids really, honestly, go through a lot, and giving them that outlet of, I can go to school and I can talk to Miss T.
Is that what they call you, Miss T?
Miss T. And
wait,
so,
why do they call you Miss T?
that's just what they call me.
See, now you can't come up here with with subliminals. Now you gotta reveal it all. No, I'm joking. Go ahead. we'll let that one slide. Go ahead. But the question was, how do what would be your sort of scope of how we can, like, what can we do as adults and as writers to kind of encourage the youth and give them those opportunities?
Well, my vision for the Poetry Lounge, as it grows and elevates, is actually to make it a community-based event. So I know, like, currently right now we only do open mic events at night, which is mostly for adults. But as the Poetry Lounge grows, I would really like for it to be a community event where during the day it's a place where kids can come volunteer, get mentor programs, put together their own showcases, whether it's poetry, music, art, dance. Just providing a community of creatives that, support each other.
Absolutely. I think that's the part. The support part is the really the part that I think if we don't get that right, then everything else is gonna, be really difficult. If we understand that there's a need for support, and how do you define this support? Just curious. Like, what is your idea of people literally supporting?
Support can come in many forms. It could be a comment on an Instagram post. It could be a like. It could be sharing an event, inviting someone to an event. It could be coming to an event. It could be participating in an event. Support is just recognizing, hey, Black woman, I see what you're doing.
I see you.
Right? It's just recognition. So I take all types of support.
I know that's right. Yeah. So, what is it that you do that literally gets you out of the mindset of teaching to transition into the night role of being this this promoter slash businesswoman slash poet, right? What gets you in that mode? Because for me, it's like literally a switch. I close my computer. It's like, whew, all right, let's go. What kind of gets you warmed up to that?
So for me, teaching and poetry are very separate, and I keep them very separate. My students don't even know that I write poetry.
What?
I teach a whole poetry unit.
That's all we talk about in my classroom. Like, yo, I was at this open mic last night. Listen, y'all.
I teach older kids, and so I keep the lanes very separate so that I can have that differentiation. Now, when my kids go on to high school, they run into me later on in life, I'd be more open to, hey, you're 18 now. But I keep those lanes very separate as far as poetry and teaching, so it's not really a switch for me. When I'm here, I'm Miss T. When I'm home, I'm Mommy.
I still want to know why they call you Miss T. T is for teacher?
Yep.
Oh. No, it's not. See? All right. So we got time for a poem. Can you read one of your poems for us, please? Yes. All right. Get your fingers ready to snap, my listeners, because this is going to be amazing.
Okay. So this poem was my New Year poem. It was my focus word for the year to kind of inspire me, called Glow. It's inspirational poem to a lot of people I've shared it with. My glow is my resiliency to shine through darkness, my ability to find my way when I'm blinded by deception, my perception of me, my definition of me. When this world tries to taint me with labels not defined by my character, my ability to be me, with no name tags. When the world tries to label me, fix me, medicate me, influence me to be other than who I am. I'm molded by my imperfections, and I have no desire to correct them. It's a part of my glow. I'm built by my scars that made me resilient. I have no desire to cover them. It's a part of my glow. I find strength in my truth. It's a part of my story. I have no desire not to tell. It's a part of my glow. I find purpose in my poetry. It's a part of my healing. I have no desire not to write. It's a part of my glow. My ability to shine through bullshit. My ability to paint new words over lies. My ability to smile through tears. My ability to rise. Each time, I glow for me. I glow for you. I glow for my mother who just couldn't make it. I glow for the child who just can't take it anymore. I paint my words with fireflies in the sky, and I hope that you read them. I hope that you see them. I hope that you believe them when they tell you to glow. This world can't hold you anywhere for long. Emotions are only temporary. They fade in and out with happiness, sadness, anger, defeat, rotating constantly. Giving you experience, purpose, and lessons. You were created never to fade or dim. Your skin gleams, your words beam brightly. You are lightning, stars, sun, and moon. And when God said, let there be light, he meant in you, glow.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for taking the time out. I know today was a little bit rocky for all of us, honestly. We had a lot going on, but thank you so much for making it happen and getting here and safely getting here, right? And just rocking out with me on the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you for the invitation.
All right. And of course, when you get your book going, man. Oh, and when we're gonna have a little reunion here. Anything you want to say, announce, or go ahead and tell people what you got going on and where they can follow you and all that good stuff.
All right. So you can find open mic events, sip and paint events, and game nights if you follow me at Simone LaRay Poetry on Instagram, as well as the Poetry Lounge on Instagram. All of our events are posted there. You can also find us on Eventbrite. Follow us. Keep in tap with our events. We'd love to see you over the summer.
Oh my God! See how well orchestrated that was. That was teacher shit right there. You don't get that anywhere else. Thank y'all so much for joining the Poetic JustUS podcast. I am your host, Jen. Please make sure you tune in to the next episode. We got some more dope poets coming on. Thank you so much for Simone LaRay Poetry. I appreciate you, and I think I'm gonna make it a tradition to blow the candle out. I think that's what we're gonna do this now.